So today, right now, we're talking about freeze and flattening tracks, and I'm going to go over the various ways that we can, like how we do it and why we would do it. So we've got in here, we've got this little beat here. All right, it's a cool little beat. And let's go ahead and put in a synth. And let's see here. Make sure we can see the push. There's our push. Awesome. Looks good. I'm going to keep it down there in the lower left-hand corner. And I'll close this down as well. So. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab some instruments, and we could do it over here. We can use the browse over here, go up to my collection, go to instruments, close you out. All right, so go to instruments here, and let's go down here to the pigments and load in pigments. Cool. So I just loaded up pigments here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this. You can see here if you're looking here. We can see here I've got this sound here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and turn off my effects here for a second. Where's the easiest way to do that on here? Effects. There we go. I'll turn that knob. Let's go to device. We got any? Okay, yeah, we're just going to turn that knob there. Cool, so we just turned off our effects there. Nice, sounds pretty good. I'm gonna keep this, the sound. I like that sound. I think it's a kind of a cool little sound. So I'm gonna keep that one on here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to, what did I wanna do? I wanna put an arpeggiator on this. And I wanna point out what's actually happening here with the push real quick before we talk about our bouncing effects and stuff like that. Flattening the tracks. So what I've got here is you can see I've got some purple keys and I've got some white keys. And what's happening is the purple keys here are my root note of my scale. So if this is a C major scale, that's a C. And you'll notice that these two here flash green. These three actually. These three also flash green. It's just a different, it's just showing you that this is the same note right here. And that's like a little bit confusing. It's just how it is. It's just how they have it set up. And the reason why they have it set up like that is because it gives you a few different ways to play your scales. So I could play my scale like straight across, one like that, or I can play it from here and go up. I could play it here, like that. There's a couple different ways you can play it. You know, a couple different ways you can do it. I like this way, like that. And you can see I don't practice it that much. I don't practice my scales that much on the push. Some people do and are really, really good at playing on the push. It's just like a piano, except it just is laid out differently. These are just notes on a keyboard. Right? So you got that there. Now, what I can do is I can also change my scales up here. And if I go down here, let's see, let's make it bigger here. This one here, let's make it bigger. And if I wanted to change my scale here, I can change my scale on my push right there, hit that scale button, and now you can see there's all my different scales here. And let's listen to the song here and change it to whatever note that play. Whatever. You can hear that it's playing like an A flat. So let's just do this song in the key of A flat, since that note is already in the key of A flat. And all I have to do is just push that A flat there. And I can change it to a minor scale. Let's go ahead and change it to a minor scale. Right, there's minor. We can change it over here to harmonic minor. Harmonic major, melodic minor. Which is not exactly a melodic minor, because melodic minor is different going up and going down, but there we go. And if you wanted to play other kinds of scales, you can play other kinds of scales like our Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, pentatonic, stuff like that. Like that. Phrygian is pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff. And I can also go down my octave here. So there we go there. Okay, what I'm going to do now is, and that's just like a brief overview of how we can do some scales on here. It just shows you how cool the push is. I'm going to change this back to this one here. Is there a Japanese? A Japanese? A Japanese what? Oh, a Japanese scale? There is the pentatonic scale. There might be, let's see over here. Yeah, Iwato, that would be Japanese. And Kumoi. And Hirajoshi. Yeah, super, super cool. So let's go ahead and let's go back. And I'm just going to use a minor scale here. What was I using before? The Phrygian. Yep, cool. Phrygian scale. Yeah, it is super cool stuff. I like the sound of those scales. And let's use an arpeggiator here. So we're going to use this arpeggiator in our MIDI effects section over here. Let me just make sure. Yep, cool. So we've got our MIDI effects here. We're going to use the arpeggiator. Boom. And we are going to use the scale mode here. And the scale mode, and we're going to do a whole class on these MIDI effects here, I think, because these MIDI effects are super dope. And you can do some cool stuff with them. Let's use the Phrygian. Where's the Phrygian one? Oh, there we go, Phrygian mode. There we go, cool. So we got that there. So now if I hit my arpeggiator, and so what an arpeggiator does is it just plays these in, it just kind of plays whatever I've pressed down here, and I'm gonna have it go up an octave as well. So we're gonna have it go, let's see here, go style. Let's do up and down like this, and transpose, leave that off, steps, that's fine, repeats. Yeah, distance plus 12, okay, so. So we're gonna go ahead and press some notes. And we're going to do up, down, not up and down. There we go. Cool. So if I hit play, and we can And I can play all this stuff in here like this. Cool, I didn't capture any of that, so I'm just gonna hit that button there. And you can see what it recorded was just all these like chords. And I'm just gonna hit this. I'm gonna go in here and quantize these, Command-Shift-U, quantize to the quarter note is fine. Put that to 100%, hit OK, boom. So now everything should line up on the quarter notes here. And I'm just gonna go ahead and grab this and drag it on back like that. Cool. Cool. All right. That sounds pretty good there. Now, let's say that I like that. Let's go ahead and put some effects on this. And I'm just going to close these down here. They're still going to play. I just don't have to look at them. And what I'm going to do is let's put some effects on here, some external effects. Let's go ahead and put on, you know what? Let's do a fun one. Let's do these sonic charge effects. And sonic charge, we're going to use Echo Mode. I'm a fan of Echo Mode. I like it a lot. Go to my device mode here on my push, and in here, let's put this into, where's my dry wet? There's my mix right there. Okay, cool. Awesome. Cool. Sweet. That sounds neat. I like that. Let's change our feedback amount here. Right? Sounds kind of cool, kind of a cool sound, right? But let's say, you know what? I don't want this using, I do not want to do that, no. You can see we're using about 20% of my CPU right here because Pigments takes up quite a lot of space on your CPU. And what I might want to do is just bounce this down. Let's say I like the audio so much, I don't really need to mess around with that audio too much more. I just want to use the audio as it is. So what I can do is I can go in here to my Pigments and let's bounce this down. So first, I can bounce it down with the effect or without the effect, and that's kind of my choice. With Ableton Live, it's not quite as easy to bounce down without your effects as it is in Logic and Pro Tools. I'm really hoping this is something they add in to a future update of Ableton Live. Honestly, I don't know why they wouldn't add it into a future update of Ableton Live, but they haven't yet, which is kind of surprising. So what I'm going to do here is, we got two choices. If I want to bounce it down with the effect here, I can just right click and I go here to Freeze Track. Boom. And now it's going to freeze that track. It's going to freeze scene 8 here because there's nothing on anything else, and you can see things are moving back and forth. They're kind of going along here like this, and it turns blue. Now, here's the difference between how Ableton Live works and how the other ones work. So first of all, I actually have access to my clips here. And I could take this clip and I can option drag it down. And I can hit play. And I can play it, and it plays just like a regular audio clip. And I can start from new places on here. Right? I can start from different places on here. And that's very different from how Logic or Pro Tools work. The way Logic and Pro Tools work, and if you freeze a track, you can't move things around on it. In Logic, well, that's not entirely true. In Logic, if you freeze a track, you can still move things, but every time you move it, it has to refreeze it. In Pro Tools, you just can't touch anything on the track at all. Whereas with Ableton Live, you can still move things around, because what Ableton Live does is it's freezing each individual clip, and that clip is treated as its own little piece of audio. So you can freeze a track, and then you can still move the clips around. I could still take this clip, and I could paste it into my arrangement window, my arrangement view over here on the side, and would be good to go. I can delete it out and it would play whatever's here. So you can still do quite a lot with my track even though it's frozen. You just can't add new effects into it. The effects, you can see they're kind of locked out here. It's got a blue thing across them. So you can't do anything with the effects if it's frozen. You can't add new effects or subtract effects out, which is a bit unfortunate. Let me just make sure I'm not lying to you. Let's just drag this down. Yeah, you can't. If you see here, see how it puts a little, little band marker there. So yeah, that's how it has been, and that's how it still is. So I can right-click on it to unfreeze it, and that brings it back to normal. It happens really quickly because everything is just still kind of there, ready to go. So that's one way to use it. And honestly, I don't really use it that much like that. It's not bad to use it like that. It's just, I just don't. You can't really, I don't know, I feel like I can't do as much with it like that. So what I like to do is I'll just make a new audio track here. I'm going to drag this echo bode over onto this new audio track. And you don't have to do this part. This is if you want to bounce it, if you want to freeze it without the effect, which is what I want to do. I want to freeze just my, plugin here. So, cool. I'm going to go ahead and right-click on up here, and I'm going to go to Freeze Track, and it's going to freeze it. It's going to basically turn it into the blue thing like we saw just a second ago. And once it is blue, I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to flatten this track right there. Flatten. Boom. And now that it's flattened, we can see it has made it into a little audio clip there. The audio clip is 32 bars long. It's 2 times 16 because the loop was 16, and what it does is it makes it one time starting from dry, and then it does it twice with the loop in it. So you have the loop there. I'm gonna hit play. And it's the audio of Pigments. It's my Pigments audio right there. Now what I can do is I can pull this echo bode back into things, drag and drop it on there. And now I've got that really cool echo bode effect. Now, why would I do this? Well, the reason I would do this is because this is going to save me quite a bit of CPU power. It's not really saving me much right now because I guess that Pigments wasn't actually using that much of my CPU for that sound. But in general, it's good, especially if you're running out of CPU power or you're taxing your computer and you're getting into mixing things. You've done all your audios, you've done all your recording your MIDI lines and stuff like that. This will allow you to kind of take those and take away from your computer processor, because synthesizers do use quite a bit of processing power, and you can add that, you can use that processing power for your effects and stuff like that. So it's a really nice way to work, even though it does take a couple seconds to kind of do it. You have to add that audio track in and then just remove your effects and just drag them over and drag them back. Like I said, I'm not a fan of that. I wish they would change it up. The way Logic does it is it asks you if you want to include the effects in the bounce, and you can just say no, which is what I always do. And Pro Tools allows you to bounce up to a certain point, which I think is really cool, because if you wanted to add like just one effect into it or 2 effects, then you could then do that. Like I said, I really like the way that Pro Tools does it more than the way Logic does it. But there are pluses and minuses to how Ableton Live does it, and I'm not sure, maybe because of the way they do it with the clip, they can't have it be the other way. I'm not really sure. So that's your freeze and flatten. I just want to kind of point out one more thing about how I use all this stuff is, let me just undo all this. Here, I'm going to undo. This is going to put it back into, freeze. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to move my echo bode back. Okay, so let me just go over that one more time, how I did that. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to make a new track, and I'm going to drag my echo mode, my effect, or if I had more effects, I would just shift click them and drag them onto this audio track here. And you can just right click and go freeze, and then right click again and go flatten. Now, that's 2 steps to do one thing, which is super, super annoying. So what I've done is I got a program here called Keyboard Maestro. Keyboard Maestro is a keyboard shortcut editor that allows you to make macros, and macros is where it does several things with one key command. So what I've got it set up for is if I hit, was it not in here? Oh, I've got it set up for F4. With F4, if I hit F4, it's going to freeze and flatten here. Sorry, that's like I actually changed my shortcuts for this a while back. So I've actually taken over the Ableton Live shortcuts, because the Ableton Live shortcuts F1 through F8 were just muting tracks, and I don't really need to do that. I've got my push here. So what I can do is I just click on a track and I hit F4, and what it does is it freezes it and then it flattens it. And it does it all with one keystroke. So I just hit that and it freezes it, and then it goes ahead and it flattens it. So now I immediately have my audio here, and I only had to hit one key command there to do that. And you can see I've got other macros set up in here. So for example, if I want to hit, if I want to put a filter on here, I just hit F3. So what's this? Oh, here I named that wrong. F3. There we go. Or no, F2. Sorry, let's change that name. Yeah, I don't know why that's named like that. So over here, I've got this. So if I want to put a filter on this, I can just click on it here and just hit F2, boom, and it grabs an auto filter for me. And now I've got that filter on there. So I can just go ahead and hit play it. And I can do whatever I want with that there. Put the echo mode on there. And go to my auto filter device. Go back to my echo mode device. And you can see up here across the top of my screen, if you can see. Oh wait, let me show you my, there we go. Make it bigger, there we go. So on my push, up here I can actually choose whatever effect that I want to use, what plugin I want to use here. Cool. Let's go into our echo mode here and check out some different presets here. Yeah, I like that a lot. Cool. So we're just kind of messing around with that one there, but you know, you can see the Keyboard Maestro just allows me to do things quite easily here, and that combined with the push is really nice. So this is a program that costs, I don't know, like 50 or 60 bucks, and you can use it for any program on your computer. I love it. I've been using it for a long time. One of my fellow teachers turned me onto it a while ago, and I was just like, what? That's super cool. And so I use it for all sorts of stuff there. I'm going to go ahead and quit out of that. All right, so we've got our pigments here, and we've got our echo mode on here, and let's go ahead and let's just lay this out as little tracks. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab these. I'm going to go ahead and grab all my clips here. Command C. I'm going to paste them in over here. And to here, boom, 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 boom. There we go. Make that nice and big. Cool. F10 is the shortcut for making that longer, and I'm going to drag this over here, 16 bars and our pigments as well. Put that in here. Cool. Let's just go ahead and make that 32 bars then, shall we? And I'm going, oops. Just holding down Shift and clicking to highlight all these. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, let's get rid of our hi-hat for the first, let's say 8 bars. Cool. I'm going to have this do like a little fade up thing. So I'm going to click on the frequency here and click on my automation here. And we're going to talk about automation tomorrow. So make sure you come back and check that out. There we go. So we're just going to do a fade up on that. And with this one here, there we are. Put that there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put in some of this here. We're going to bring it back to 0 here. I'm just going to have it kind of go down like this. And actually, you know what I could do? I can highlight this part here. And I can right click on it and put in a shape down here. Let's do that. And we're going to just adjust the levels of the shape here. Yeah. And I'm just going to put another shape. Yeah, that's good right there. Boom. Get rid of that. And if you're a little bit confused about what's going on, don't worry. We're going to talk about all this tomorrow. Pull that down like that. Cool. Excellent. Hit A to get out of automation mode. Get rid of that first bar there. I'm just going to delete that one there. Cool. Excellent. Go in here. Cool. I'm going to go ahead and just click on these here, holding down Shift. Awesome. So it gives it like a little bit of a groove there. And we're going to just listen to this, and we're going to listen to where the tail dies off right over here at the end of this little loop. Cool, my tail dies off right here at bar 35. And I'm just going to go ahead and put a marker in there. Add locator. I'm just going to call this one end. I'm going to put a marker at the beginning as well. Right click, add marker. And this one here, add locator. And I'm going to call this on the top of the song. And I'm just going to go ahead and drag this top bar here, my locators, across the top here. Now, that's not something you need to do. What you could do if you wanted to is just click and drag across this part here, and that's enough. But I like to add my locators up there just to kind of make sure I'm visually seeing what I'm going to bounce down. And now we're just ready to bounce it out, because we know this is where our fade is, our back to silence happens. And it's in our notes here. We want to go to exporting. It's Command-Shift-R. And just render the track. Make sure you do a stereo bounce, all individual tracks. If you want to bounce out your stems, you can do that. It exports all the tracks. Duh. All individual tracks is what it's called. It's good for stems. Selected tracks only exports tracks that you choose, and then one track only, click the track name in the list. It just exports one track. I recommend doing the master, which is your stereo bounce for this stuff here. Render as a loop will keep all reverb delay tails in the audio. Convert to mono, good for bass sounds if you're bouncing at your stems. Normalize it, don't use that. Create analysis file, only using it if you're going to bring the audio back into Ableton Live, because what that does is it creates an analysis file right there on the spot, and then allows you to just drag it back into Ableton Live and more quickly. PCM audio is WAV or AIF, and then dither options. Don't use dither unless you know what it is and when it is the right time to use it. And that's like a mastering thing. So for right now, don't use dither. And then there's also an MP3 option. So what did I just talk about here? Is Command-Shift-R. It's all this stuff right here. So render track. We've got all these different options here. You can choose the track you want, or you can go all selected tracks or all individual tracks. Let's just use master if we're just bouncing out a stereo thing. Where do we start? Where do we end? Make sure that's correct there. That's whatever you highlighted here in the track. Rendering options. Do we want to include a return in master effects? Yes, absolutely, because it's our master track. Render as a loop? Nope. Convert to mono? Nope. Normalize? Nope. Create analysis file? Nope. Now, if I was doing like a loop, like a 4-bar loop here, and I wanted to make sure it had reverb tails and stuff, I would hit yes on this. If I wanted to convert it into mono, if it's a bass track or a kick drum or something like that, yes, I would click yes. Normalize, not something you'd really use much, but if you are doing drum tracks or drum hits, then you can use normalize in that case. But for songs, don't use normalize. Create analysis file. Yeah, if you're bringing it back into Ableton Live, definitely create an analysis file. Sample rate, 44.1. That's probably what you're going to do unless you're outputting it for picture and stuff like that, then 48. PCM is your WAV or AIF. PCM, do you need to bounce out a WAV or AIF? Then turn it on. WAV file is what I recommend. AIF you can do. Ableton Live also does FLAC now, which is fully uncompressed. Do you need that? No, not really, not usually. Just like extreme audio files usually use FLAC at this point. Bit depth, 24-bit, 16, 24, 32. 16 if you're going to CD, but who does that anymore? Nobody, that's who. Dither options, no dither. You have some options in here. My advice is don't use dither unless you know how to use it, what it is. Unless you've done like a deep dive into dithering. I actually don't use dither at all, even though I do know what it is and how it works. I just don't use it. MP3, encode MP3. There's no settings for MP3s in Ableton Live. It's just constant bitrate at 320. That's fine. That's what you want to do anyway. So turn that on if you want to encode an MP3. Do you want to upload it to SoundCloud? It will automatically upload it to your SoundCloud account. Makes it nice and easy for you. I never do that because I like to check stuff in iTunes or something else first. So I never turn this on, but it's there. So I guess people do use that. And if you have a video that you're doing in Ableton Live, if you're working with video, and there's some actually cool stuff you can do. You can actually do warping and tempo changes and stuff to your video in Ableton Live, which makes it a little bit more musical. You can lock it into musical hits a little bit easier. Then you can export the video that you created. Okay, so now we do this, hit export, boom, and not quite as good as my Trap Pets bounces, but we'll call this one Bells. I haven't actually saved this. Hold on, let's do a save. Save, cancel, save. Hex Bells. There we go. It's a new song from AC/DC. Do you want to delete the temporary files? Yeah, I want to delete those temporary files. I don't need those temporary files on my hard drive anymore. All right, so we got this here, Command-Shift-R. Hit yes. And now I'm going to go down here to my recent places, Hex Bells, there we go. And I get to make a bounce folder here, which I like to do. Hex Bells, bounces. There we go. And we're just going to call this one the demo. Export, it's going to render it out. Render it out, and yes, done. Now let's check out and see what it sounds like. I'll give you a hint. It's going to sound exactly like what we just listened to. There it is, hex bells. Bounces, and there it is in there. And I can hit spacebar on this. I don't think you're going to hear this. Actually, I'm not going to hear it either, and the reason why I'm not going to hear it is because of that. Turn that to universal audio. There we go. Cool, there we go. Right, cool. We don't need to listen to it. I don't even know if you can hear that or not. So that's what's up. And if you can't hear that, it's pretty funny. It's just me sitting here doing this. All right, let me go ahead and stop the recording here.